and then we'll move on to some different subjects in the coming weeks. Okie dokie, so let's start. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutayambi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutayambi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutayambi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatayambi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum. Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. So now you can get yourself in good position for meditation. And quite often I was asked by Ahmed during the week on Messenger on the correct hand position. First of all, it's important that we are comfortable. That's the most important thing. Don't try to get into the hand gesture position if that's really uncomfortable for you, because it may disturb your meditation. But generally, the camera's a bit high up there, but it's basically like that. The left hand on the bottom, palm facing up, right hand on top, and then thumbs touching, either in like an oval type shape or a diamond type shape, or flat on your palm. Okay, so that's a really good position. As mentioned in previous classes, when the thumbs are together in the Chan or Zen tradition, it means one-pointed concentration. So this hand gesture or mudra can help you to maintain this one-pointed concentration, or at least close to it. And of course, in the Vajrayana tradition, it means the unification of wisdom and compassion. Okay, so, but also you can see other positions. I noticed that I think some other traditions and even some Buddhist traditions practice, with the like this, and hands on your legs, resting on your knees, and like outside as well. Or you can even put them together like this. Another different mudra. And also there's another one which I actually practice in some of my Vajrayana practice, where you go like that and then you close the fists and you have them down. Some of the students in Melbourne, I've taught you one of those meditations before, where you use mantra at the end of it, where you do, if you remember, there's certain breathing, that you do. But I won't do that right now. Okay, so get comfortable, and you can lightly close your eyes or gently close your eyes. Gently close your lips, nice relaxed mouth, and bring your attention initially to your body. We'll start at the feet and release any tension from your feet. From your toes, the balls of the feet, the arches of the feet, and the heels. From the top of the feet and around your ankles and Achilles tendons. Just to mention that there's lots of pressure points, lots of meridians on your feet, and that relate to the whole body, actually. So you can call this, when you have knowledge of this and you massage yourself, you can call it acupressure, like acupuncture points and things. So by releasing the tension from your feet, you're helping yourself to release tension from other parts of your bodies, including the vital organs. Now release the tension from your calf muscles and your shin areas. Release from all around your knees, the front, the sides, and the back of your knees. And your upper leg, the quad muscles at the front and the hamstrings at the back. Gradually work your way up the body. Now release the tension from the glutes, the back, the hip flexors on each side, and the groin at the front. Your lower stomach, on and just above your hips, and your lower back. And now release from further up your stomach and up your sides and from the center of your back. From your chest area, further up your sides, underneath your arms, and your upper back, lateral muscles on each side. Then you have the rhomboid muscles on each side, in between the spine and the shoulder blades. And now you can also release the tension from your upper trap muscles that run between the neck and the shoulders. And release from your shoulders and your upper arms, the biceps and triceps. and your elbows and forearms and wrists, hands, fingers and thumbs. Now bring your focus up to your neck and release any tension from the front, sides and back of your neck. From the back of your head and the sides of your head, around your ears and temples. In your face, around your cheekbones and cheeks. Make sure you're not clenching your jaw. From your chin, your mouth, both inside and outside, your nose, sinuses, eye sockets and eyes. And on your forehead, make sure you're not frowning. Nice and peaceful. Almost like a very gentle smile on your face. And finally, release from the crown of your head. Now briefly scan your body from the tips of the toes to the tips of the fingers and to the top of your head, just to see if you can release any more tension. And to remind you that as we do this, we're also releasing the tension from the mind. And this preliminary practice of the meditation is actually part of the practice because it's helping us to bring the mind inside the body. Now gently focus on your breathing process. Initially, you start the breathing process, the feeling of the breath, the tip of your nose. And then you breathe in, passes your throat, quite cool. You breathe into the lungs, they expand. As you breathe out, they compress, and the air is quite warm as it passes your throat on the way out your nose. So just breathing in and breathing out. That's all you have to do. You know, even in life, the other requisites or necessities of eating food and drinking water, and then of course releasing that through the toilet activities, and also, you know, having some sort of shelter and clothes protect you against the weather elements. And breathing, we need to breathe. The other ones you don't have to do all the time. Don't always have to eat or drink or go to the toilet or have shelter, even clothes, but you're breathing all the time. So we always have the opportunity to focus on the breath. Whenever thoughts arise in your meditation practice or any other mental activities, such as some sort of emotions, attitudes, and so forth, don't cling to them. Don't grasp at them. And don't try to forcefully push them away either, or deny them. Just let them come and go naturally by refocusing on your breath. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't add to the thoughts with worry, agitation. And also, if your mind becomes sleepy, dull, you refocus on your breath more brightly. Practicing like this, refocusing on your breath becomes the antidote for both the agitated and distracted mind, as well as the dull mind. So now we will practice like this in silence for a few minutes. No pressure on yourself. Just trust in the process of the practice and trust in yourself. So now you can feel very happy with yourself for engaging in this short practice. I believe we are not kind enough to ourselves a lot of the time. Because actually, if you are kind to yourself, then it's much easier to be kind to others. Even if it's for the simple fact that you know how it feels to have kindness expressed, or actually within your own mind, really. So fill your mind with this universal loving kindness, with the Mahametta, the great universal loving kindness. So much so that it overflows and now radiates outwards also to your loved ones, your family and your friends. You have the wish that they be happy and have the causes of happiness, and that they are free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Extend this loving kindness further and further gradually to now include those you may regard as strangers. Obviously, strangers are easily known as those people you don't know, but also there may be people that you don't really know very well, like maybe you see them walking out when you're getting your exercise, or in the local shop or supermarket, and other places, but you don't really know them. Also wish that they are happy now and that they are free from suffering. Extend the loving kindness now towards those you may regard as enemies, those people that you find very difficult or irritate you, may even make you angry. Wish that they also have happiness and are free from suffering. Actually, there's three types of people: our loved ones and family and friends, the strangers, and the so-called enemies. These are actually, this is discrimination in our own mind, because all of the living beings are all, you could say, the same, even though we have differences. All living beings want happiness and want to avoid suffering. All living beings, we obscure whatever wisdom or compassion we may have with ignorance, with a lack of understanding. So we're all the same in that way too. And the bigger picture is we all have the potential to attain supreme enlightenment. So we are the same in this way as well. So this loving kindness of sharing this loving kindness to those different types of people helps us as well to give up our bias, our attachment to those we find that please us, the lack of care for those that we don't know, and the aversion for those that we find irritating. So may all of these three types of people be happy and free from suffering. May they be peaceful, as we extend this loving kindness out further and further now to include all living beings. Initially, those around our immediate area, those living beings that live on the land and under the land, in the waters, the salt water, the fresh water. They fly through the air. Whether they're born from wombs or from eggs or through moisture or through transformation. May all of these living beings attain happiness initially and free themselves from suffering. May they be peaceful. Now include your whole state or county. And slowly, further and further, gradually extend and radiate this loving kindness out like a tidal wave of loving kindness to include your whole country. And other countries that you're familiar with. and those countries that you are not familiar with. This loving kindness now pervades the whole planet. May there be peace everywhere. May there be happiness. May we be free from suffering. Now other planets also, until our loving kindness pervades the whole solar system. And other solar systems throughout the Milky Way galaxy. And other galaxies throughout the universe. And other universes throughout infinite space. This limitless loving kindness. And now be present here and now as well, and we will recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious bodhicitta not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. So I hope you're feeling nice and that you are reasonably happy, that you are free from difficulties and sufferings. So now we will, like I said, we will finish the discussion about the higher training in mental stabilization. Of course, we've already gone through the 5 faults that we need to relinquish for our meditation practice to improve and to traverse through the 9 states of concentration. Of course, we spoke about the 8 antidotes as well, which are the means to relinquish these 5 faults. And last week we spoke about the 6 powers that we traverse through or utilize to be able to go through these 9 states of concentration. So I'll reiterate them really briefly right now. And then we didn't spend much time on the last one. And then we will talk about some other aspects as well. Okay, so the first one is hearing, the power of hearing. Now you hear. Hearing can also include reading and studying. This is also known as one of the wisdom tools the Buddha taught. One of the 3 wisdom tools. The first one of hearing, the wisdom tool of hearing, or the wisdom of hearing. Also, there is the wisdom of contemplation, and then the wisdom of meditation. This is how we realize the wisdom. This is how we gain insight into the nature of things or the mind or whatever it is we're looking and investigating into and analyzing for understanding. So it's mentioned here again, the hearing. Now it's known as the power of hearing. We hear the teachings or read the teachings. We hear the teachings, these meditation methods as taught by the Buddha, and then passed down through the last 2,600 years or more, and taught still to this day. And so there are some different techniques that we use. Of course, what we're using here is known as anapanasati, which means the mindfulness of the breath process, or the breathing process, or the breath. And so that is the one we are using to develop this one-pointed concentration, to practice and realize eventually this meditative stabilization that we seek. Okay, so there are other ways too. Like I mentioned, you can focus on sound, initially the outer sound, and then eventually the inner sound. And of course, you can focus on other physical things, such as parts of your body and elements such as the water and fire and so forth, to be able to develop this one-pointed concentration. But you must, to be able to practice any of these methods, you have to first hear about it. And you have to get some teaching on it so that you understand the methods to be put into practice. And then you understand how to, and also to implement them, to actually put them into practice. Okay, so that's the power of hearing. And then, of course, we go on to the power of thinking. Now we think about this. First of all, we think about it from the point of view of contemplating it, to understand if it's real or not real, or to understand really what it is we need to be doing, and then do it. Now, thinking also helps you to recall, to remember the methods to be used, and also to remember to do it correctly and accurately. Then, of course, we have the power of mindfulness. Now, in this case, it's specifically to do with the good qualities, the goodness in the meditation practice. Always be mindful of these good qualities and the goodness in the practice. And then, of course, we have the power of awareness. You become aware when you have some sort of dislike or laziness even pops up and we don't practice well enough. So we be aware of that. And then, of course, we have the power of effort, to actually, with enthusiasm and perseverance, make the effort to practice. Not only the practice itself, as in sitting and meditating, but also make the effort to engage in the practice. So you're making the effort to get a good, comfortable position, whether you're sitting on the floor on a cushion or elsewhere, and making the effort to start to calm the body and then focus on developing this one point of concentration. You're making that effort. And during the time, you're also making the effort. You're making the effort to practice the mindfulness and making the effort to be aware when the mind becomes excited or disturbed and also sleepy or dull. And then making the effort to be conscientious in replacing the breath or the mind back onto the breath in this case. So I think we have about 6 minutes. I think it's just said that. So anyway, then we have the sixth power, which I said we didn't go into much last week, is the power of familiarity. Now, familiarity is so important in everything we do. I briefly gave the example of driving a car. For those of you that drive a car, you can maybe remember back to when you first were learning how to drive a car, or even the beginning where you were getting excited. As a teenager, you wanted to, now I want to get my license to drive a car, but you don't know how to do it. You've seen your parents do it and on television or something, and there's the pedals on the floor, go faster this one or stop this one, or the gears, the wheel here, you don't really know how to do it. And so you're not familiar with it. And then, of course, then you maybe start to get lessons from your family or parents, or maybe even professional driving instructors. And then you start to, I don't know if you remember those times. I remember it being very awkward. And I remember my mum took me out one time and I ended up on a nature strip just because I wasn't familiar. I just all of a sudden I freaked out a little bit and didn't know, and I had to stop, And so this also is the case when I was living in Europe initially in my early 20s, and also in the USA, as you know. So I spent quite a bit of time in the USA. So driving on the right-hand side of the road. Now, for me, I'm used to driving mainly in my life, of course, in Australia and then in Britain on the left-hand side of the road. And I had to relearn and become familiar with driving on the right-hand side of the road. I remember one time I pulled out in peak hour in Los Angeles, and all of a sudden there were all of these lights coming towards me. For 1 second, I thought they were making the mistake. But obviously it was me that made the mistake, and I pulled over quickly. It's a very dangerous situation, actually, that one. But anyway, get back to familiarity. When eventually, with the driving, sticking with that example, that eventually it becomes natural. You know about the brakes. When you need to stop, you put the brake on. When you want to go faster, you do that. When you turn a corner, you put the indicator on. And so forth, all of the other practices that you have to be familiar with in the car. Eventually, it becomes very natural. And so this is the case with the power of familiarity. You now are able to, you're not thinking about your meditation practice. Eventually it starts to become absolutely easy for you. There's no distractions now. This is the one pointed concentration. And so I've written a couple of little notes, and I don't want to forget. Also, we go through stages that are known as the 4 mental activities. These are the way the mind engages in its object of focus. They occur during those 9 states of concentration. There's forcibly fixing. This is the first and the second states, where the mind is strenuously fixing on an object of concentration. And then, of course, we have the next one is interruptedly fixing. Now, this is the 3rd to the 7th state. The concentration occurs intermittently. We're not always able to focus. We're having to make those adjustments, apply the antidotes. Sometimes a meditation can be quite good through this period, but some other times maybe not. Maybe you're a busy mind because of something happening in your life. Don't be hard on yourself, like I always say. Just recognize that. Continuously try to be mindful of the object, and then be aware when you kind of losing the focus, and then be nice and conscientiously replace the mind back on the object. Quite simple. Okay, then we go through the 3rd of the mental activities, which is non-interruptedly fixing. And this covers the 8th state of concentration. The mind is capable now of staying on the object without interruption. And as I've said, I think a couple of weeks ago, I said, wouldn't that be nice for all of us? I think we all would like that. I think we all would like a peace of mind, clarity of mind. Number 4 is effortlessly fixing. And of course, this is, you could say this is one-pointed concentration now. This is spontaneously, the mind remains on the object. Now, there are a couple of other things I'd like to mention is, first of all, don't confuse those 5 faults we were speaking about with the 5 hindrances. The 5 hindrances that we need to try to relinquish as we practice meditation are attachment to sense pleasures, also some sort of harmful intention. Then, of course, the distracted mind, or sometimes known as the excited mind, or anxious mind, worried mind. The next one is the dull mind, or slothful and mindful of torpor. And then, of course, there is the doubt or uncertainty, doubting the teacher or the teaching or the methods being taught, and doubting yourself as well. So they try to relinquish these 5. They're different to the 5 doubts that we had. These are 5 hindrances, I should say. Okay, so we're now under 1 minute, so I'll have to wrap up now. I'll begin next week's class with talking about the mind as the object of meditation, which is much deeper. And just continue to practice well. Be happy with yourself, happy with others. Stay really safe, okay? First of all, look after your mind, then look after your body, and look after others.